Well, I didn't think I'd be doing a news type video on this channel, but here we are. So in case you haven't heard already, the Tales fandom is absolutely fuming right now, thanks to Bandai Namco making some of the Tales games inaccessible. According to a Reddit post by user Innocent Strategy, several titles from the PS3/Vita PlayStation Store have been removed in all regions of the world. The post lists Tales of Graces F, Tales of Xillia 2, Tales of Hearts R, Tales of Zestiria, Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, and Tales of Innocence R as missing from the storefront. And this is in Japan, North America, and Europe. But it gets worse. Apparently, Symphonia Chronicles and the Xillia games were already delisted in Europe years ago, whereas North America still has a Graces plus Xillia combo pack and the two Symphonia games separately. So not only has Europe lost all the Tales games on these stores, Namco was also very selective about what to delist from the Western stores for some reason. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I mentioned Innocence R earlier, which is a Japan-only Tales game. That has also been delisted, so Japan wasn't completely safe from this either. But if this comment from the Reddit thread from earlier is anything to go by, all of the Japanese Tales games from PS3, PSP, and Vita are missing, with only Vesperia's PS3 DLC available. So in summary, all of the Tales games, aside from a select few in North America, have been removed from the PS3 and Vita PlayStation stores in all regions. The bizarre decisions made by Namco when it comes to this series just baffle me. Tales of Arise comes out to great praise and commercial success, and what do they do with that popularity? Why, make some DLC, of course. 2 years after the fact, and it isn't even all that good apparently. What's that about releasing older games on new platforms? You want Symphonia for the 4th time? No? How about you get it anyway? And every time you port the game again, the ports just get worse and worse. As of now, there are only 5 Tales games available on modern platforms, and that saddens me. And say nothing of the many mediocre mobile games that have already ended service. I'm a huge fan of the series and have been since the early 2010s, and seeing the series fade into obscurity like this definitely wasn't my hope for the series after Vesperia Definitive and Arise. Maybe it doesn't have the same appeal as some of Namco's other series like Tekken or Dark Souls, but it still is a big series and its legacy should be celebrated. But now this series I tout as one of my favorites ever is slowly fading away. Sure, my favorite game of all time and my favorite in the series, Tales of Vesperia, is still available, but most of my other top Tales games aren't. The Nintendo eShop on the Nintendo 3DS closed down last year, so there goes Abyss, my favorite next to Vesperia. Was Abyss in the eShop to begin with? Anyway, Abyss is harder to come by these days as well, and I expect the same to happen to Graces F and Xillia. Then we have Symphonia, which is still up on several storefronts, but those ports either stink or have stunk in the past. Now, I'm talking a lot of doom and gloom here, but there is a ray of hope. Namco has been doing a lot of re-releases of older, more obscure games lately. Stuff like Pac-Man World Repack, Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series, Dot Hack GU Last Recode, and the Katamari remasters. Who's to say Tales isn't on their minds as well? Maybe these delistings actually mean something. But most likely, Symphonia Remastered was that attempt at bringing back an older game, which we all know how that went, and them delisting the games was nothing more than just license reasons or something. It's seeming to me more and more by the day that Namco just doesn't care about the series anymore. They've moved on to bigger and arguably better things. And with games like Elden Ring and Tekken 8 smashing records and selling much more, much faster than any Tales game ever could, I think the message is clear. And I honestly don't know what would be the best course of action for the fans right now. Would it be just by supporting the games we still have up on the storefronts? I feel like that would send a wrong message to Namco, as in they would just capitalize on the modern games available and none of the past games. So do we support the old games by getting the old physical copies and or emulate them? Well, Namco isn't seeing a cent of that money from the old copies, or emulation for that matter, so I doubt they would care. Furthermore, the remasters I mentioned earlier are actually all pretty good, which is miles and bounds beyond what Symphonia Remastered was, further emphasizing that Namco just doesn't give a fuck anymore. In this age of remasters, remakes, and re-releases of all kinds, it's truly sad that Namco doesn't view the Tales series as a good enough source of income to even make a decent re-release for the series. Vesperia's re-release was 5 years ago now, and even that had some problems that haven't been fixed to this day. And honestly, as video game costs keep rising and the AAA game industry is imploding on itself, I wouldn't be surprised if we see even less of the Tales series now. 3 million copies is impressive for a rise, but considering the series is one of massive JRPGs that are single player only, with the only multiplayer being local co-op in most games, I don't think giving a budget to a series like Tales, which is niche and will likely stay niche, is very future-proof for Namco. I wanna keep hoping something good comes out of this, since re-releases are easier to make than brand new games, but since nearly all the Tales games were removed in Japan as well without warning, my hopes are pretty low for any kind of re-release. I know the Tales of Festival is yet to happen and there could be some news there, but my pessimism definitely says nothing spectacular is going to happen. Next year is the Tales series 30th anniversary, so maybe they'll do something for that, but I really don't know. A Tales of Fantasia remake, or perhaps even a Tales of Destiny collection would be absolutely awesome, but I just don't see them being in the cards. Namco has been treating the series like shit for a few years now, so I don't see them changing their tune unless some spike in sales were to happen with the next release. As Arise has shown, Tales doesn't really have the potential to be a juggernaut franchise like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, or Shin Megami Tensei / Persona. 3 million units doesn't even come close to those series' most popular entries, and Namco will look on those numbers negatively. Not to mention the clear divide Arise has caused in the fandom, but that could be a whole another video in of itself. I'm sorry to end this video on such a dour note, but I don't think it's going to look very good for Tales fans from here on out. Perhaps I'm making this sound more dramatic than it actually is, but this series means a lot to me, and I would really be bummed to see it disappear from the public eye completely. But if Namco wants to keep selling mediocre remasters of the same game, and instead focus on giving Tekken 8 a Battle Pass for some reason, sure, we'll go with that, I guess. But until next time, like, comment, and subscribe. This being Dragon Guy, signing off.